Hello, hello, hello. What's going on? 23 minutes after 1 o'clock. Yeah, I'm on twice today. It's one of those kind of days, you know? It's one of those kind of weeks, as I'm sure you guys are fully aware of. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to SnowTALK. I'm wave meteorologist Brian Good. On this Wednesday afternoon, tracking, obviously, they set up that way this morning, but obviously the weekend as well, which is getting a lot of attention, as it should. Rare, by the way, to have this much confidence, by the way, in a winter storm, but also so much detail, and still 4 days away. Normally, we ramp up to alerts and a winter storm watch, which, by the way, is already out for the weekend. We usually do that within about 48 hours before we get to the event. But this is a very rare setup here, guys, that will have a very complicated setup that's still at play. I know you guys hate hearing that, but it is 4 days out. So this is normal on the winter storm forecasting side of things, but it's been talked about so much, I get it, that everyone just wants all those nitty-gritty details. And I promise I'm going to give you as much as I possibly can and am legally required to. I can't do anything illegal, but I'll do whatever I can. All right, I'll tell you what, let's get to the snowboard, because as always, I want to do this like I normally do for new to SnowTALK. This is where we talk about everything in snow. So not just any system in the short term, but anything down the road gets discussed within a reasonable time period. I usually go about 2 weeks out for any potential. And we do have, obviously, winter storm this weekend. We do have light snow with an Arctic front coming our way as we head into later next week. And I think the end of the month may once again feature another potential winter storm that will cross the country. Where we fit into that, I have no idea. That's way out. But the pattern absolutely supports it. So this is going to be a busy couple of weeks for us as we close out January and enter February. All right. We're on all that mess coming up in a second. Outside at the moment. Whoa. Where did that come from? Remember, I told you yesterday you're going to be outside. You're going to be like, wait. Why is it snowing everywhere? What's going on? This is the mess we're running into here. Is we've got dynamic cooling at its best rolling through. The rates are high enough to pull down the cold air to allow the snow to fall. And on elevated objects right now, rooftops, grassy areas, cars, you're getting a nice little coating. Otherwise, main roads have been treated enough now, and the road temperatures are fine coming up that I'm not seeing as many issues like we had, obviously, this morning. Because some of that was freezing rain, which is even worse because you can't see that. You don't think that that's becoming ice versus snow is a very visible thing. Everyone naturally slows down. But in freezing rain, no one slows down until they see a problem, typically, or they run into a problem themselves. So it becomes messy. And this morning was a perfect example of what happens when you have a very light wintry event at rush hour in especially Louisville, but really anywhere that this was impacting in central Kentucky, there were problems. Now, this is not going to be a huge concern this afternoon. It's just a very pretty setup because we are above freezing, but it will allow accumulations on grassy areas and rooftops again, just pretty out the window, very cozy. This is cozy now. The stress now of the really messy road scenario is over, so now we get a chance to just relax a little bit and enjoy the wintry view that we've got outside. Temperature, by the way, in Louisville, 35 degrees. Look at that bright banding on the radar. And anywhere that the radar was trying to interpret some of the yellows and reds, it's quickly flipping them over to the darker purples to indicate that is moderate to heavy snow in some cases coming down. This is very impressive. I've actually, this first showed up, a week ago, I think. I remember sending a tweet, and I said, this may be a winter storm, may trend toward one. All right, it never got to that. Never was a winter storm. Still not a winter storm. But the moisture levels since then decreased. So we're like, okay, well, this is probably going to be a very minor rain-snow mix. But then the moisture levels started to increase. And hats off, I know the NAM model for you weather watchers out there, the NAM model got a lot of flack for the past several events, but it was actually the first to pick this up. So we can't always diss the NAM. Sometimes it does well. But what really was the catalyst here was yesterday afternoon when we realized that we weren't getting the sun hitting the pavement. That set the stage for this to have big problems. And once we all figured out, I think every meteorologist all at the same time, we're like, we got a problem here. Even light moisture coming in and the moisture levels are increasing. The roads are frozen solid. This is not going to go well. And the trends just all ramped up. And this is what we got. Now, this is all heading off to the east. So we're going to hold steady here where we're at in the mid 30s. as this moves by. Areas to the south have a better chance to get to 40, but I don't think Louisville's probably going to get to 40 the way it's looking. So we'll generally stay with this very snowy look. Indiana, don't get mad. Where's Wayne? Wayne, who's our snow lover there in Indiana. Yeah, it's missing Indiana today. This is all a Kentucky show coming into play, but I don't want you guys to worry about it. I think everything's off track here. It's not. This is pretty typical when you have a lot of bright band in, but temperatures in just enough comfortable spot. If we were colder, boy, this would have been probably a 1 to 3 inch snow event, probably closer to 3 inches if we were colder. I know, but hey, that's all right. That's all right. We're just getting our feet wet. This is our training wheels to get us ready for the weekend. So here's what's interesting. This is the HER model, and it indicates rain. It's a problem with sometimes the interpretation of the models, but it shows the heavy rain. So it's got the rate right, but it didn't understand that it's going to be flipping over to snow because it's too warm on temperature. It's thinking we were going to be 40, 41 right now, and instead we're 35. So that makes a difference. 36 is usually about the magic number, typically. Not in all cases, but typically it's the magic number. There's the MPing reports, by the way. You see wavy at the bottom. MPing, if you know MPing, it's an app you can use, or it's on the radar scope. You have the ability to send in reports there. I think they have a web browser too for it. But your reports are very important, and they go by your GPS location, and we're able to track the snow. In fact, let me do that real quick. Let me show you that real fast. I promise when we get to the weekend, don't get upset. I just want to cover everything. I don't even have to look at the comments. I can just feel you all staring at me thinking, why is he not getting to the point? Here are the MPing reports. Look at all the snow reports there showing up. And these are from you. You guys are sending these in. So thank you. And sleet reports all the way down south of the parkways even. All right. So I already showed you future cast. Let's move on. So what is the game plan for how this is going to evolve into the weekend? Well, let's leave our lovely little snow globe behind here for a moment. As this wave heads off to the east, we will drop tonight. I don't see us, freezing up into the teens or anything like that tonight. It will get colder. We may drop to the freezing mark, but for now, I don't see us locking up with a lot of ice everywhere. But we're monitoring that to see where the temperatures do settle tonight. But in general, most of the numbers I'm seeing are averaging very close to where we're at now. So there's not a lot of change just because look at the wind in the top bar there next to Mount Ogden. You can see that the wind is south. So it's a warming wind, should catch us, if you will, kind of keep us elevated. But eventually, the cold air will drop back down. We're thinking Friday that will happen. So that means we get one more day above freezing, one more. And then I don't know if we're going to get above freezing again, at least for most of the area. For the rest of the 10-day, maybe longer. So hang on tight. So what's the game plan for the weekend? It involves still the two pieces we've talked about. A lot of people refer to this as the Baja Peninsula or the Baja Low that is moving in. It's just now showing up on the radar on the eastern side from LA. We don't have radars out in the ocean, so you only see one side of it. But you can definitely see the spin west of San Fran, and it's about to be a bowling ball and head right toward El Paso into the Lone Star State as we head into Thursday night and Friday. But it's not the only piece. There is another one to the north. But we need to get weather balloons, as I mentioned, into both of them, right? I'll show you the other one in a second, but especially this one, we need to get data out of this. Now, we're getting some weather balloon data. It's going to go on the eastern side of it, but we need the whole thing. So what is helping us out in this whole idea are the hurricane hunters. The hurricane hunters, and this is not unusual. They do this whenever we find winter storms or any type of threatening weather for the country, whether it's severe weather or a winter storm. They help us in severe weather outbreaks too in the spring and summer months. So they are not just hurricane hunters. They have a multiple task at hand. So hats off to them. They do have a schedule here. I know it's hard to read, but they are launching into the Pacific today. In fact, it should be about, at least our time, it'll be about 3 p.m. They take off and fly into the Baja Low. They are scheduled another flight tomorrow, and I believe there may be a flight scheduled for the Gulf of Mexico as well that they're going to fly into to try to get some data there. That will help us out for the other side of the scope, especially when the storm gets going. But I mentioned there's two pieces to it. So this is the one, Baja Peninsula. The other is way up here into southeast of really Juneau. That'll be dropping down rapidly as well. The two are trying to phase together, and I think they will certainly phase together. But when they phase absolutely will matter on how the storm track will be and how the radar is going to look. And for our area especially, it will determine whether or not this is an all-snow event or we get a viewing area that's divided, heavy snow, sleet, or do we get heavy snow, sleet, ice storm, or in some cases, maybe pure rain? We may end up with all of that stacked from one end of wave country to the other. That is one of the outcomes that we're seeing. And just small differences matter in this scenario. But look at how the storm evolves. Look at how many Weather Service offices have issued a winter storm watch to encompass a good chunk of the southeast corner. I don't think I've seen this probably in about a decade. It's been a while that I can recall. I mean, sometimes there's one-offs. My memory's not the greatest. I'm getting old. But still, this is impressive to have. I mean, you can get on I-40 in North Carolina, and you will not get out of the winter storm watch until you're getting to New Mexico. So that's wild, right? Think about that. That's a long drive. You ever done that drive? I have. It's a long drive. So that's impressive. But that's the area that has the most confidence right now on impacts of any type, whether it is snow, sleet, or ice. That's how the Weather Service is handling it now, because this is a very far out in advance, especially for our area, advance notice. I'm glad they're doing this. This is the correct thing to do because everyone's talking about it already. So the alerts are out. It's including the entire state of Kentucky, all of Tennessee. Looks like just about all of Arkansas as well. So this is, I mean, covering a lot of real estate through all the way into the Carolinas. Now, I know when I zoom in, you're going to be like, wait a minute, what about our Indiana counties? Jackson and Jennings and Lawrence. Technically, you're not in it yet. Indianapolis is waiting just a bit. I think that will change. I don't see how we're going to escape with having alerts everywhere. And I think based on what I'm seeing so far, winter storm warnings are likely. But again, I don't know everything. So that's just my hunch right now. The winter storm warnings are going to be everywhere. A lot of pink. And you can see in the bar, the warnings of fuchsia color. You're going to see that everywhere, all over the place. But at that point, it doesn't really matter. I think you guys, they're there to bring awareness. You guys are aware. You're very aware of what is taking place this weekend. All right, so here's a look at the atmosphere, looking at the upper layers of the atmosphere here. And here are the two pieces. Here's your Baja low. This is, I believe, Thursday night, Friday morning. And here is the, let me change my pen. You guys probably can't see that. Let me take it full screen. Let me see. Hold on one second. Of course, the map would be yellow as I'm trying to do yellow for color. So let me see if I can get a different color. What color should I use, guys? How about blue? Blue good? All right, we use blue. Okay, so here is number one, and here is number two. It's a race on how they play out, because as of now, we are expecting this piece to roll down into the Central Plains, into the Ozarks as we head into Friday. At the same time, the Baja Low is going to try to swing out and develop and head to the north and east. This will all do what I call a dumbbell effect, which is just a big old swirl. They phase together, and you end up with a bigger low pressure that will eventually be more of an offshore idea. At least that's the current thinking on paper. The problem right now that the models are having is that they want to, most of them want to bring this piece out first, which is key, because when this piece rolls out, we're going to get a burst of snow right away for Saturday. And that burst of snow on Saturday easily could be several inches of snow Saturday alone. And I think that's just about everyone watching. I think this will be all snow. The second piece is the problem here, the Baja Low. When we get into the phasing idea, we get that whole dumbbell effect, and then it creates kind of a wraparound. The low pressure deepens as it does, and that pulls in warmer air right into the Ohio Valley. Then you take that rain, snow, ice line, and you suddenly begin to pull it north. So we don't want, if you are a snow lover, you do not want this to be out really in the front because it would, a fully phased system before we get to I-65 is going to pull in warmer air. It will absolutely shift the storm track even more north than it is now. And it will introduce even rain, plain rain in our far southern or southeast counties. Wouldn't rule it out. But if it remains a little disjointed, at least initially, where it's a little lopsided, this one gets a little first, this one then rolls in, then they do the dumbbell effect, and then roll on out. More of a transfer, actually, to a new low pressure out in the Atlantic. So how the two interact is absolutely important, because small differences in those ideas, just small timing differences, completely change the outcome of how this will play out on snow and ice and rain. This is why the hurricane hunters are getting involved, because we really need to know how they're doing. Are they on track like the models say out there west of San Fran? Is that one in Canada? Is it on track? Or are they off by like 12 hours? Because if they're off, we need to know now. So you're going to see as they get the data. Now they're flying in 3 o'clock today. I don't know if we're going to get it tonight. We may not get the data into the models until overnight or tomorrow morning. Then we should have our first runs coming in that will have that data ingested in it. And that's important because that's no longer speculation the model has. That is real-time measurements that were captured by the hurricane hunters that were put in. So faith in the modeling is going to go up in the next 24 hours. But until we get past that point, I still think we're going to see these wild little changes on the storm track, being the warmer idea or colder. And that's going to be frustrating for a lot of you because I know a lot of you want a snow map. I'll be honest with you. I don't know if we're quite ready yet to do that because we may have a snow map and an ice map that we have to do. And we don't want to put you through the arena of going back and forth emotionally on how this will play out. I'm going to give you an idea. I promise. I'm going to give you an idea of where the amounts are trending. Okay. I'll be fair to you. I'm not going to be completely a bummer here. So hang tight. I'll give you that. But as far as an official forecast, that's something that we're going to have to do here behind the scenes. And I'll explain some of the data we'll have to do for that to happen, work out. What is interesting, though, about this is because they are disjointed, if that remains the case, if they are a little off on speed, and we get the Saturday snow first, and then we get the second pushed in, they're so blended together. They're so close. For you at home, it will look like one storm that is hit. For meteorologists, we will see the differences of the two. But it does prolong the winter storm aspect. The winter storm watch starts Saturday and ends Monday. That's an entire 3-day window here of wintry weather that comes into play. And the second piece may be warmer because of it pulling up the warmer air than the first one was. So we may get a layer of snow, and then we may get sleet on top of the snow, or we could get ice on top of the snow. That's never good. We don't want a fully phased system, to be honest with you, in my opinion, just because it brings in ice more into the picture, and it would certainly increase the wind. And if you end up with a burst of snow, ice, and strong winds, you know where I'm going with that. That's not good. But even the snow is going to be very heavy. But still, none of this is good for impact as far as travel. Travel will be difficult to near impossible with this kind of a scenario for many areas of the southeast corner of the country. Road crews, as you saw in the press conference, Myra had that a few moments ago if you were watching, they're going to be on it. Thank goodness it's on a weekend. So a lot of you just stay home. If you don't have to go, I'll just stay home. And that gives them the chance to get caught up on how the storm is progressing, especially with the first phase. Then you get that cleaned up and then get the second phase done. And then I don't think we're going to be in much better shape by Monday, to be honest. I think it'll take a bit of time, depending on how this all evolves, to pull out of this. So for kids, still do your homework, but could be interesting. Okay. One of the ways we're going to be in for, and I'll get to your comments in a second. So there's so many on there. So hang tight. If you already asked your question, you may have to ask it again in a second, but hopefully I'm going to answer it for you. So bear with me. Okay. One way we're going to be looking at this is to see how much snow we're going to get versus sleet. We got to first figure out how much moisture is going to be in the area, how much is going to fall. And I pulled every model that was able to that would fit this time period. The GFS, 1.13. The Ensemble, ½ inch. The AI version of the GFS, a little more than ½ inch. The Canadian model, 1.34. Icon, this is the German model, 0.85. UK Met over in United Kingdom, 1.33. The Euro is 1.53, and the Ensemble of the Euro, 1.2, and the AI of the Euro, 1.10. Okay, and you're like, okay, what is that telling you? Well, so far, by looking at these numbers, I think more than ½ inch and certainly an inch is going to be the average of all this. But if we get more than an inch, we got problems. Even an inch is going to be a problem. Here's why. Typically, if this is all snow and you are in a typical environment that has a winter storm and your temperature is about 32 degrees, 30, 32, your ratio typically is 1 inch of rain or liquid equals 10 inches of snow. So just say we get the 1 inch and it's all snow. That's 10 inches in the forecast that would happen. But you can see we got some 1.33. So yeah, that'd be 13 inches, right? 13 inches in the Canadian. The GFS ensemble would be nearing a half a foot. But here's the problem we got. The air is not going to be 30 and 32, at least for much of Indiana and northern Kentucky. It will be colder, likely into the teens. So because of that, we have to change the ratio. Instead of 10 to 1, 1 inch of rain, 10 inches of snow, you can actually go to 15 to 18 to 1. Oh, okay. Well, that changes the whole storyline. Now you get more bang for your buck out of the same amount of moisture. You fluff the snow up because it's drier. And when that happens, you can get higher amounts. And obviously, if we end up with higher ratios, if we're colder than expected, those numbers just keep going. So this is why the snowfall, all snow idea would be remarkable and one for the books that can happen. But the problem we're getting is the whole two pieces idea. They're not shaking hands nicely. So because of that, some of this may get sacrificed to the weather gods as sleet. Sleet is just what it is. It's little ice balls that fall from the sky, and it just takes a while to accumulate. It is not like snow. You know, 1 inch of liquid is basically going to be 1 inch of sleet. I mean, it's near, not perfect, but it's pretty close to the exact. So it's not as exciting. Sleet is still slick and very hazardous. 1 inch of sleet is a problem. But snow lovers, I get it. Snow lovers cannot stand sleet storms because it just eats away at so much. It just is a bummer. And it will absolutely destroy a winter forecast on snow. More than 60% gets taken away just because of sleet. But let's take this another level. Okay, what if it's all ice and freezing rain that gets involved? Even some of that, just a quarter of an inch is a problem. Quarter of an inch is the threshold as we get into an ice storm scenario. That's possible. I'm not going to rule it out. So it could be a stacked cake again. Some of you may get all three at some point. It's a mess. It really is a mess. I think at this point, I think you would probably want all snow. At least you know what you're going to get, and you got traction, sort of. Hey, wait up. All right, there we go. Crash there on 65 on, let's see, what is that? The Snyder? Right, the Snyder Freeway. Thank you, Wavy. If you ever hear that horn sound, by the way, it's a crash sound. All right, so there are the amounts that we're watching. That's the challenge that we've got behind the scenes with all of us on the team. We've got to now dive into the math. Oh, I am not a math fan. I'm not. But we got to get into the math, and we've got to figure out about the liquid, not look at the snowfall forecast. Those are fun and pretty, and we look at them. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they're great tools. In most cases, they do try to factor in ratio. And I will say that the average ratio I'm seeing right now for those that are watching the models is roughly a 13 to 1 initially, goes to 15 to 1, back down to about a 13, and then back up to a 20 to 1 at the very end of the storm on Sunday night. It bounces around, but so far the ratios I've seen have been higher than 10 to 1. So we're thinking that potential to get snow, if it's all snow, would be higher than you normally would for this amount of moisture. Does that all make sense? If so, please type 333. If you understand the challenge of winter forecasting here with this system, especially, and what it takes to figure out snowfall forecast, sleet, and versus ice. I want you guys at least understand that part before I get into the weeds even more. Because this is important, because this is the stuff we can't explain on TV. It takes too much time. And it's a lot of work on our end because we've got to be confident on the amount of moisture, and we've got to be confident on what is the temperature profile and how the two pieces interact. We've got to be confident on all of that. Otherwise, we're wasting our time. So we're not there yet, to be honest with you. And I think until we are fully there, it's going to be hard to put out a snow map. We may be able to put out something tonight that reflects the amount potential that this could have, but not an official forecast on specific numbers. That may take a bit of time. I know some may already get their maps out. We're not in a race here. We're not. You guys know this is coming. We're not in a hurry to throw out maps. We want to make sure this is done right. This is a big event for the area that's on the table here. So we want to get this right. We want to be accurate as possible. We still got time. We got 4 days, guys. All right. So you need to prepare for really any scenario of snow versus ice, but just an impactful storm in general that's not going to be easy to get around. That's the main thing that will impact you all will be travel. And if you were to lose power, do you have the ability to get somewhere where you can stay warm, or do you have the ability to have the power come back on like a generator, that kind of thing? So those kind of things, yes, we want you to keep in the back of your mind. Those are things it's up to you to take care of. And that's why we want to talk about the storm a lot, so you know to prepare. But as far as the specifics on that, on the meteorology side of it, we're working on that. All right, I see a lot of threes. I think everyone's good. Everyone's good. Okay. Thank you all. That helps me out. So let me show you. I don't know if this is going to be updated. No, this is the run from last night. It just updated. So I will tell you if there's where the differences are seen already in the data that just came in 30 minutes ago. This is the Euro. Here is your typical rain snow line, that blue line, dripped right across just south of I-40. This is Saturday morning, so late Friday night, Saturday morning. All right, the first piece is already interacting here with our Baja low. All right, so now this is the first piece that brings us the snow that'll be arriving on Saturday. That's your burst of snow Saturday, especially Saturday night. Now, it's hard to see, but the next piece, the Baja low, is already getting injected and phasing here. Again, they're so close together, you can't pick it out unless you look at the upper atmosphere, that map I just showed you before. Then we can see the two kind of bouncing around and doing the handshake as they move through the Ohio Valley. We can see that happening, but you can't really see it as well when you look at precipitation. But we know that they're there. But it's that second piece for Sunday that I think matters more on the type than Saturday. I'm confident on Saturday being snow. I'm not as confident on Saturday night or late Saturday night to Sunday on that push right there. See it? That warm nose right into the Ohio River Valley. We've seen this many times. And could this keep trending north? It can, yes. If there is more of a phased look here, they form a little more west of 65, you're going to end up with one main low, to be honest, but it will absolutely pull the warm air in. And I mean, some of our southern counties could actually push to 40 degrees. You would have nothing to worry about then, right? You'd have rain. I think right now that's unlikely. There's more support of it being a little disjointed, not fully phased yet until it gets really just east of 65. And then at that point, it typically transfers into a new low off the coast and becomes a bigger storm for the mid-Atlantic, and our snow winds down. That's typically what happens here. So right now we're leaning more toward that idea, but I can't discount the warmer idea. I know the Canadian has been trending toward a warmer idea. I know the UK Met certainly has, and that brings a sleet event or even ice right into the Ohio Valley. And again, that will likely be on top of snow that would fall on Saturday. Not an easy forecast, guys. And I tell you, when you look at this kind of a map, wherever you are, just north of that sleet ice line, just north of it, maybe about a good 50 to 70 miles on the northern side of that ice, that is the sweet spot. That is where you're going to get absolutely dumped on with snow. And I'm talking about more than a foot can fall right north of that freezing ice zone there. The system getting stronger, it's pulling in more moisture. Those moisture values, the QPF that I showed you, those numbers are trending upward because of that. Warm air holds more moisture than cold air. So it's bringing in the influx there. So if you stay just cold enough the whole time and you stay all snow, whew, I mean, I'll show you what that potential will be here in a second, but it can be a big event. I'm not sold yet that we're going to stay all snow everywhere. I'm not sold yet on that. It's possible, just as the all rain moving into southern Kentucky is possible, but I think it's going to be a blend of both. It may be messy, But anyway, it moves on by. We wind it down Sunday night, lingering effects of snow showers. The wind will ramp up, and then we drop. You don't want to clear the sky out with a snowpack like this one, because if we do, I mean, it's already looking very, very cold. And I still don't think we're cold enough in the 10-day, but we're slowly trending it downward as we get more confidence. But as soon as the sky clears, we're going to go below zero for sure. So get ready. All right. So that's the problem. If we lose power, you got to prepare for the idea that you're going to be in the frigid air mass for a while. So again, find a way to stay with a friend that you know has a good setup to stay warm, or you have a way to make sure you have a a backup generator. You have a warming, there'll be warming centers, I'm sure, or something that may open up. So you have places to go. Just kind of know all that now. I'm not saying you got to use all that. I'm not saying that at all. But we're going to err on the side of caution. And people take that as hype. That's fine. I'm used to this. Been in this career a long time. You can say it's hype. I say it's you are getting prepared. Why not? What's it hurting? It's not hurting anything. Being better prepared is the best thing to do. When you're not prepared and these things are surprise events, it's a problem. This one hopefully will not sneak up on you. It moves on by the way, here is the next blast of cold air that moves in the middle of next week. Another round of light snow. This one could be colder, by the way, than what we are expecting after the snow event. We may get even colder next week. And the pattern will keep evolving. Wait a minute. I think the Euro just updated. Let me see. I think it did. I think that's the new run. It just came in. I saw the screen kind of flicker there. You see it's right there. Oh, I-64. Oh, man. But look at that. Look how big that snow shield is on the northern side, too, by the way. Indiana, all the way to Chicago. This is going to be a large snow shield. I mean, you could still get a half a foot out of that. Maybe more. Because your ratios will be higher. You'll be more in the colder air, and therefore you'll be way above the 10-to-1. Probably real close to 20-to-1 the entire time. You will get a bang for your buck. You can get a good thumping of snow, even in areas that are not right at the rain, snow, ice line. Don't get me wrong, but the highest of totals will absolutely be right at that point where it switches over. I just know where that's going to be at. All right, anyway, it moves on by. We get the system for next week, and then you see the groundwork that's being laid for what will likely be another, near repeat. Another piece drops down to the Rockies, the Baja Low, another piece will likely come into play, and then here we go again. Another wintry event will likely cross, but that's at the very end of the 10-day. We're not there yet, but the pattern supports it. Even though the model is not showing it, the pattern supports it. But we'll worry about that later, right? Snow meter. We'll keep it at a 7 for now, which is entering the bread and milk phase. It may get to the cabin fever level. I don't know if I've had to do that. I don't know if I've had to do that in a long time since I've had to move it to a 10. I know I've been to a 7 a few times, but you can get up there. You can get up there. So this is not a light snow event. This is not flurries. This is a high impact scenario. Let me show you now. For those of you at home that are model watchers, you can screenshot this and put it on your wall as art if you want and save it. This is just one model's idea, but it's interesting to look at because we just don't see this often. So I would be giving you a disadvantage if I didn't show you because you all be mad at me if I told you. All right, this is the Euro ensemble of what it thinks for Louisville would be the general snow event for this weekend. It's spitting out different ideas, but look at all the different, there's 50 different ideas that it's given us. It's got a 15 inches, 16, there is a 7, there is only a 6. Okay, I see a 4 even. Could that 4-inch be the one that wins? It could. That's why we have ensembles. Sometimes the ones that you don't expect can sneak ahead there. But there are a lot of them that are higher than 10. That is remarkable. I don't think I've seen this in a long, long time here. But the average is the bottom. It gives you 10. That is why I think when you watch the press conference, Metro Louisville was saying we're hearing 10 inches of snow. I think that may be where they're getting that from. I don't know. But that would be fair average of all those ideas. Again, we just don't know yet. And the Euro is thinking all snow, but at the same time, it's very broad on its idea. It doesn't see the finer details of when sleet could get involved or freezing rain. And because of that, it's pretty to look at. I get it. But it could seriously reduce these amounts in a big way there. All right, let me show you the 10-day, and then we're going to get to your questions. I'm ready for it. All right. There we go. Tomorrow, again, above freezing. I still have the 42 in today. I didn't change that yet. I need to. It's not going to happen. 17 for the weekend. We'll go to round 0 by the time we try to clear the sky out, but then we get more snow, and then we drop even colder. Those numbers will likely go lower once we get more of an idea what happens this weekend. Okay? All right, so what can I help you with? I was waiting for this one. Hey, John. This is the type we can get thunder snow. You can, especially with the phased idea. Yes, it is It is possible. That's something that's more of a nowcasting setup. When we start seeing the ability to show some instability in the soundings, then we have a better idea. We need high-res data to see that. We don't have high-res data yet on the system. Would you say, Dave and Gene, French toast gauges would be a good idea. French toast, yeah, that makes sense. Might as well just blend the bread and milk. I agree. Blend it all together. Everyone's talking about the Twix index. Yeah, the Twix index, I haven't done in a while. Is there a spammer in the chat? I didn't see it. Sorry. There are so many in here. I don't know where they are. Snow like crazy in E-Town. Yep. Appreciate that. Oh, hang on tight, Amy. I promise as I'm done, it will replay again. All right. Jim Cantori is in Nashville this weekend, Sean says. Oh boy. I used to work with Jim. Yeah, I mean, that's fair, because if they don't get the heavy snow, at least for part of the system, it's going to be an ice storm. So they're not going to do well either way, but I'm sure they're hoping to go to all rain at some point. But man, wouldn't that seriously bust the forecast in a big way? That's what, when you're a meteorologist, you never want to see the all rain solution, although that would be the easiest for all of us to get around in. Don't get me wrong. When this is talked about so much, and then suddenly it becomes a fully phased system, warm air, and you go to rain, you can imagine my inbox. It's not pleasant. It's not pleasant. So right now, I think that's the least likely solution, but I just don't think we should take it off the table until we get that data from the hurricane hunters. I really want to get that in. I think that's absolutely important to see how this plays. Hey, Tyler, good question. Could the deeper snowpack from the first wave of snow push it south? You're right. Typically, when you have a snowpack, the system that follows it, the low pressure itself will hover near or south of the snowpack line. It will not entrench over it. That's a general rule of thumb that we use. Doesn't happen exactly like that all the time, because there are other influences can get involved. In this case, yeah, I don't see the low going into the snowpack north of it. I'm just talking about the warmer flow. That's different. That is a different scenario. You're talking about the warmer flow is upper atmosphere, not the lower. So the low level cold will hold, which is the reason why it could be ice or sleet. The lower layers will hold and stay very much on the frozen side. But you get above our head, it's warm air. Warm air is lighter, flies over our heads. Cold air is heavy. It likes to hug the ground, sink down to the ground. So when warm air goes over it, you melt the snowflake, so it falls as a raindrop, but you're still cold at the ground like we saw this morning. So anything that raindrop touches freezes and becomes a glaze of ice. So how the temperature evolves from where we're standing right now to where planes are flying, we got to figure that out. And that's another side note. We are going to get airplane data. We typically do from UPS during the event. I know it's a nowcasting thing, doesn't really matter right now. But during the event, we will be getting data from the planes that are trying to at least take off and land. I don't know. It depends if the airport's open. It may close. A lot of airports may close in the Southeast with this. But if we're able to get the airplane data, that does help us in getting a real time, just like the hurricane hunters on moisture. But good question, Tyler. You've been paying attention over the years. I know you're a weather guru, though. Let's see. What other questions? I know you have a lot. So, hey, Tom. Hope all's well. Flakes coming down J-Town. Hey, Brittany, preparing for snow versus ice is a great difference. Hope it's just snow. Yeah, it's... I think all snow, although the all snow idea could be, big, it would be easier to manage and prepare for and handle and take care of, right? When you start dealing with different layers, then the problem is you get a dry snow that falls, and then you get sleet or freezing rain on top of that, and it creates this casing of ice on top of the snowpack. It compresses it down, so your snow accumulation, your snow depth actually will shrink down. So your measurement on snow, it had to be done fast before that happens, so you get the accurate number that actually fell before it compresses down. But then it's harder to break. You can actually walk on the snowpack when that happens, right? You guys know how this works, especially after I have snow on the ground and the sun hits it for a few days. The same thing happens, creates an icing case on top, and you walk on top of it, and your foot suddenly will break through it, and you sink down, and it scares you because you're not prepared to sink down, especially with our four-legged friends. When we take them outside, they do the same thing. They're expecting a fluffy snow, and it's all crunchy. That's a problem with ice, because then it can also do the same thing to a roof or a tree or anything like that it is able to press down on. The weight increases. So you don't want the the snow layer. I don't know if it's worse than the ice first and snow on top of that, because your tires can dig down to that. I don't think either one are good. You guys tell me which you think is the easiest in your experience, but I think overall, both are not good. It makes things much more complicated to take care of. How you doing? Free trail. What are the chances it'll be all snow? Let me try to think of a percentage way to do this. I would say that to stay all snow, I'm going with about 60 to 70% chance, the way it feels to me right now, that's going to be all snow. I'm not to 100% on it, but I'm more than half of the confidence level. But it's at 20 to 30%. You gotta watch out for. Hey Todd, what do you anticipate as far as travel in Southern Indiana? I don't think anyone's going to get around much at all this weekend, Todd. Once this hits, even if we are on the lower end, let's say this forecast busts and we end up with a more suppressed system, which I think is very unlikely at this point, but a more suppressed system, then the lower number you saw even on the ensembles in the Euro was 4 inches. I mean, that's still a winter storm technically. That still causes problems. That's not going to make travel impossible, and it's not going to get you stuck for days and days, right? But it's still a significant setup. So I don't think anyone's going to be getting around at all this weekend to deal with it. So a lot of events may be canceled or rescheduled. I hate that, but it's the winter time around here in Ohio Valley. It's always a risk. So again, we'll work on the math side of things. We got to figure out the moisture. We'll do all that. If we can get to a consensus today, we'll get it out today. Maybe tonight. Kevin may have it late tonight. We'll see. If not, then it'll have to likely be tomorrow. I'd rather do this right and get it as close to our confidence level as we possibly can. I hope that makes sense to you all. We don't want to just drag you through it. You know, like if we do all snow and do these amounts, and then tomorrow we're like, oh, sorry, Dare County, you're going to be all rain at the end of it, and suddenly your half a foot's wiped away or whatever it is. That's much more of a roller coaster ride emotionally than anything. So we're trying to prevent that, is what I'm trying to say. So let us get everything stabilized, and then we'll get the numbers out. And then at that point, when it comes to nowcasting, you don't really see a huge difference after that. You just see, some changes, but it's not usually as dramatic as you lock in. But we are 4 days away. I mean, that's still a decent amount of time. Let's see. The flake size, well, I'm working on that as well. That does matter depending on where you have different areas of lift in the atmosphere, and also how you're what we call the dendritic growth zone, or DGZ. You may hear that term. Where that is saturated, at what temperature level, usually around 14 degrees below 0 Celsius. You get in that range, that will determine sometimes if you get more of what they call I believe it's the like the spears looking to the snowflakes, more stick looking things versus your giant snowflakes. There is a way for us to determine the snowflake size, but that also takes some work. We need high res probably to get an idea of that level. But yeah, potential is there, especially right on that sweet spot of the sleet and freeze and rain to all snow. That's usually where you get your bigger ones. Flakes are big now, yeah, because temperatures are not that far above 32, right? I mean, we're very saturated here, so these flakes can get big in today's setup. If we were 15 degrees, they would be small. Brandon, what time do you think this will hit Louisville and Indiana? That's something else. We got to figure out on this first piece that arrives. It's generally going to be all snow on Saturday. Some of the trends were earlier in the week. They were more like Saturday night, like 10, 11 o'clock at night. Now it's trying to show up closer to like 11 to noon on Saturday. So that needs more work. That's why I think the Weather Service put the winter storm watch out for Saturday morning through Monday morning, just because the time frame of how this all exits or enters and exits the region, that is unclear, because it just depends on how the two pieces phase. If they're a little more spread out or disjointed, you again create what will feel like a very elongated winter storm. And that is what may stand out with this one for a lot of people, is how long this thing can last. Not to the level of what was it, 90? Was it 98? I'm getting old. the streamer snow. You guys know what I'm talking about. I always picture John Belsky talking about every night. It came in from the Mid-Atlantic and moved right into Louisville. That was our record snow event that we had. Got up to, I think, up to 2 feet, right? 20 inches in some areas. But it had to snow every day. I think it snowed like a week. It won't be like that. But again, that stands out in your memory when you have moments like that. So this one will probably stand out too for a lot of, at least the younger generation. So I would plan at this point, anytime you got a weekend plans, anytime from Saturday morning on, we're going to be in that zone, and we'll give you more specific time frames as we get in. No, not the 94 storm. This is after the 94. I know the 94 one. This was 98, February 98. Thank you, Les. It was upper low. You had 18 in Cincinnati. It was about 3 days. It was pretty wild. It was wild to see that. It was just a narrow band of snow from the Mid-Atlantic crossed over. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. Probably never will. 1998. Thank you. Appreciate that, Amanda. One of our engineers here, LA at Wave, said, if we get snow, make sure we get a video of Brian on our new snow mower here at the station. I don't know if HR is going to let me, LA, but we'll try it. LA takes care of us outside when we get the snow. I think he loves it too. He really likes being out there. So he's going to have fun this weekend. I'm excited. We have ice on the lines. If it's freezing rain, yeah, that can happen for sure. But it depends on the rate. You get into a whole other ball game when you get into freezing rain, because heavy freezing rain doesn't stick to the power lines as well, or trees, but it does still create an icy effect on the ground. But a very light freezing rain does stick to the power lines and trees easy and can gradually weigh them down. So icing is a whole other ball game, but we can't get in the weeds on that. We just got to figure out where that potential will be, and then we got to then dive into it on how will the ice accretion look like. I know there's a lot of ice accretion maps going around everywhere, but I don't think a lot of what people are factoring when you see those heavy ice maps for the deep south, Atlanta or whatever, is that it could be heavy freezing rain, and that is going to be different on impacts. Now, roadways and travel, absolutely nightmare, crippling, in fact. But when it comes to anything elevated, it gets a little more complex than that. It's not as simple as all that becomes ice in the lines. So rate is important. So they got to worry about that part more than likely than us, I hope. Okay. Are you guys ready? I think you're ready, right? You got all the supplies you need, right? I mean, don't rush Kroger. I as a former Fern Creek Kroger bag boy, my first day at Kroger, you guys probably know the story. My first day was the Sunday before MLK Day, 1994. So I dealt with the rush that was already out in the media at that point. At that point, we only got like a 2 or 3 day heads up on a storm like that. But the potential was high before it was knocked down to 1 inch or less Sunday night, as you all remember. But before that happened, it was looking like a big snow. So it wasn't necessarily missed in 94. It just was altered, and that altering didn't go well. It didn't go well. But anyway, I was at Kroger. I dropped Prego sauce on a customer's foot. I felt so bad. I still remember her face. I thought I was going to be fired. But I remember the chaos in the store. No fast carts were left. Everyone was parking on Bardstown Road because the entire parking lot at that Kroger, all the spaces were full. We had to take the checkout lanes into the meat department, into deli or seafood area. No one could shop then in the aisles because the checkout lanes were going through the aisles, and people were getting mad at each other. That was a lot of stress for a 16-year-old, right? But anyway, so don't do that. Don't rush the stores. You got time here, guys. You got 4 days. Just get what you need taken care of. Plan accordingly, but be nice to everybody when you see them out. Don't go wild here. It's not the end of the world. These systems are a lot more manageable than they used to be. A lot has changed in our technology, our infrastructure compared to even 94. So it's easier. Still can cause problems. Don't get me wrong, but you guys know it's a lot easier than before. I got my soup and cheese, make a grilled cheese. All right, good. Let's see. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end this because a lot of you are asking about the very beginning of this, and it won't replay until I end it. So Again, everyone, type 1 if you're good. Type 1 if you're good. You understand all this. Everyone's up to date. Type 1 if you're good. Type 1 if you're good. And we'll have updates tonight on TV. You got 3 more days of the blog coming. 3 more days of SnowTALK. So hopefully I don't come on tomorrow and say, sorry, guys, the data came in and this is going to go to rain for part of the area. Don't get mad at me. Don't block me. Because that's possible. But I really want that data. I really do. I think that's going to be an important thing. All right, guys, you're awesome. I appreciate you all. You're great. Thanks for your patience, too. And I'll tell you what, I'll see you guys coming up at 3 o'clock, and we'll dive into details even more. Take care. I'll see you on the flip side.